You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Hello there, Broncos country, and it is once again time for another episode of Building the Broncos. I am your host, Carl Dumler, and with me, as always, I have my co-host and good friend, Mr. Nick Kendell. Nick, we're finally down to one preseason game. College football starts this weekend, and roster cuts downs are coming up here very, very quickly at football, and it smells like fall in the air. It's perfect, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know if work, wedding coming up, both Broncos and Hawkeyes. It feels like I'm excited, and the stress is building as well. So that's when I operate best, under pressure. That's how diamonds are made. So no, man, it feels like it's great. Season's coming, tailgate season's coming. I'm a little bit disappointed with my diet restrictions, trying to lose the weight, that I'm going to have to not partake as much as far as the beer consumption goes. Kids don't drink underage. But IPAs, pale ales, even the light beers, heavy in the carbs. So looks like I'm going to be living on that hard alcohol / White Claw life, at least until the wedding is over, which makes me sad. But yeah, at the same time, I'll deal. Maybe I'll have to be like a wine taster. I'll have some IPAs and I'll spit them out or something.
There you go.
I'm not even drinking. I don't even drink IPAs, to get a buzz. It's like I love the taste. So whatever.
Understand. I'm more of a whiskey guy.
I do like whiskey. What's your favorite?
Well, I'm trying to remember. There was this Kentucky one that I had the other day that was really, really good.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, though. I'm not a connoisseur. I'm just starting to learn.
Okay.
My wife was shocked the other day when I came home with whiskey.
Ooh.
And she's like, "What's this about?" And I said, "It just sounded really good." She's like, "You've never done that before."
You've changed.
So, I know. Yes. But I'm like, well, this is what happens when you have a kid. No, I'm just kidding.
A beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I love me some whiskey.
Yeah, it is good. Do you like bourbon or just straight up whiskey or Irish whiskey or just rye or
just straight
Scotch?
Up whiskey, man.
Just straight up whiskey. See, I like bourbon a little bit more. I like the charred barrel flavor. Okay. And we have a really good distillery pretty close to here in Iowa City called future sponsor of the pod. No, but I'll give them a shout out. Cedar Ridge. They make some pretty good stuff. So I always try to get a bottle from there. But I'm also, one of those annoying people who tries to shop local, just to keep the money circulating locally,
Right.
Positive feedback loop. But they have some good stuff, man. I always have a bottle of that on the shelf if I can help it. So always a nice thing to have with guests. So definitely fun. And I think at the wedding we're going to have Elkins whiskey, which is made in Estes Park. So that'll be fun. So probably should, again, we're not alcoholics, folks, but we're not sober either. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll move on. I'll let you get it going here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just getting it back to football. We want to make sure that you know where to find us, to find all of our articles, where you can find us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH, and of course Nick at Nick Kendell MHH. And you can follow the podcast Twitter account at BTB Football Pod, and make sure you subscribe to our show and leave us a rating, as we value your input. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and even that of YouTube. Also, make sure you head on over to milehighhuddle.com, a new affiliate of the Maven Coalition and Sports Illustrated. This podcast is powered by Overtime Media.
Fantasy football fans, listen up. Do you want to join the biggest NFL season-long tournament ever? Of course you do. If you love fantasy football like I do, and we know that you do, then you need to enter the $3.5 million Best Ball Championship on draft. You heard me right. $3.5 million in real money. It's freaking huge. It's a season-long tournament, but with no management on your end. Just set it and forget it. Once you're done drafting, that's it. No trades, no waiver wire, no auctions. You don't even have to set your lineup. Your best players get automatically started, and you'll get the best score each week, guaranteed. No salary caps. Play in a real-life snake draft, just like you play with your friends in a season-long league. For a limited time only, you can get a free entry into the Best Ball Championship when you make your first deposit, but you have to use our promo code HUDDLE. That's right, a free shot at $1 million just by using the promo code HUDDLE when you make your first deposit on Draft. Just search Draft in the App Store or go to draft.com and come play for free with promo code HUDDLE.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Alrighty, Carl. Well, we are going to do just our best guess with the roster prediction based on what we've seen, what we've heard. Obviously, some of these guys aren't going to make it. I remember last year I liked Cyrus Kouandjio, played solid at left tackle. They didn't end up keeping him. Broncos bringing in some other guys here and there. So, I mean, I just saw Malcolm Smith was just released by the 49ers. So there's definitely a chance that he is a guy that, ends up moving on to the Broncos or somewhere. So we'll see what happens. But starting off on offense here, Carl, who do you have from the quarterback position making it?
So quick question. Just because you and I did this completely separate, I have not seen your roster. You've not seen mine. I have a couple of positions that are off roster signings.
I do not have any off roster signings.
Okay. So I'll give, how about I give you the guy that I would say would be there if the Broncos only worked off their 87-man roster right now.
Okay.
Okay, so quarterback. I have Flacco. I mean, that's a lock. That's a lock. And, oh man, I'm going to say it, Rippin. Part of this is because moving on from Hogan saves him some money. And I really don't think Hogan showed anything in that game better than Rippin.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I went with Flacco, Locke, and Hogan, though. Just the safer thing. They've really just not given Rippin much of a chance. Hogan seems like the guy there. We'll see, but maybe even just to be contrarian against you. But I went with Flacco, Locke, and Hogan. So on to running back now. We'll snake this, with like our sponsor being Draft. We'll snake this. We'll go back and forth. My running back here, I have 4 guys making that. The Freeman, Lindsey, Booker, as well as Theo Riddick. Not sure. Maybe he's going to be a guy who gets IR'd. And the rule about the guys who are IR'd that can come back. They have to originally make the 53-man roster.
Right.
And then you can put them on the IR set to return.
Right.
So anybody, you can't just say, I'm going to free up a spot by putting Theo Riddick on IR. Nope, he has to be on the 53 originally if you're going to be able to activate him. So worth noting there. So
right.
how about your running backs?
I have the same 4. I think with Riddick coming, I don't think he'll be out too long. Yeah. 2 to 3 weeks, and Booker can do not everything Riddick can do, but at least can do enough. So makes sense to keep those 4.
Yeah. Nope, you are correct there. I do not disagree with you in the slightest. And I got to ask, how do you think the touches are distributed between these 4 backs? And just let's say they're all healthy. Game's going close. How are these touches distributed?
Like all 4 are healthy?
All 4 are healthy.
I would say, are we going by carries or touches?
Touches.
Okay. So I would say 40% Lindsey, 40% Freeman, and 20% Riddick.
Okay.
What would
Not
you
bad.
have?
I think I'd be about the same. I'm hoping if Lindsey can take that step in the pass game, we can get him 45%. But I think Freeman is great as well, and I think they'll ride the hot hand, obviously, in that game. And depending on the team they're going against as well. Obviously, like if it's a team with less speed, then maybe Lindsey's the better guy to go with. If it's a team that's lighter and faster, then maybe a guy with a little bit more mass running between the tackles and Freeman's the guy to lean with, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. Booker is just in a perfect world, Booker is seeing the field very limited except for special teams because he's the jack of all, master of none kind of thing. Right. Where you have Theo Riddick, obviously the pass catcher, flexing out, doing that stuff. Lindsey hopefully doing a little bit more in the pass game, but the speed guy, still between the tackles, maybe some more zone stretch. And Freeman as well, the more power. So Booker's just the insurance there, offering some special teams ability. But if all of these guys are healthy, I think he's the one that, he might even, they need him for special teams though. So he's the guy that probably gets pushed down the depth chart there. But still, I think all those guys have value and need. So, and I didn't ask you here. Well, I guess we'll just flip it here. Your doppelganger, Andy Janovich, is he making the roster as a fullback?
Honestly, I didn't put him. Just because they got so many guys right now that they're so close to being ready for week 1, but they're not quite ready. And so I just left out the guy that I thought probably got the fewest touches on the team. Plus, it seems like he's going to be out a lot longer. I mean, he's definitely a candidate to be IR'd to return or just even IR'd. But I don't know. That was one of my tougher ones. And I did go with Charles Orson because he adds to the tight end and fullback room.
Yeah. No, that's, I like that a lot. I had him on here, but in the end, listening to Fangio talk today, I went elsewhere. So I do have Andy Janovich actually making this team. However, I don't think we're going to see him play for the first couple of weeks because of that injury. So they're going to have to make do with him not on the roster. Maybe see another guy play that position. Maybe go fullbackless. We'll see. But okay, so far we both have. So you did have just Orson Charles, right?
Yeah.
No other fullback. He's the fullback / tight end. Okay, I really did want to get him on here. Maybe that's somebody they can add back if they move somebody to that IR designated return. But, the original 53, don't have him on there for me. So now, wide receivers, I actually have 3 making it. Or 6, excuse me. I have 3 and then another 3 listed. Only 3 wide receivers in this economy. What am I thinking? So, Cortland Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders, that's your X and your Z. Then I had Deshaun Hamilton, your prototypical slot. Patrick is the guy number 4, can play Z or X. More so Cortland Sutton's backup. Juwan Winfrey in there as well. And then I have River Craycraft making it as well, given the Broncos' direction as far as special teams go. He's right now the only guy who I think they would think about keeping for punt returns. Maybe they move Booker there, but haven't seen it. They haven't done that. So right now I think River Craycraft, given the parameters of the guys already on the roster, I think he's the guy, and I think he ends up being kept so that way he can return punts, even though it's pretty uninspiring. It's safe, but it's uninspiring.
Okay. I have a little bit different. I have Cortland Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders, Deshaun Hamilton, Fred Brown, Brendan Langley, Kelvin McKnight. I'm just messing with you. No, I was
just biting my tongue.
All right, we're done with this podcast. You're done, man. You're cut up. Yeah. No, I have the same first 5, but and if I was just going by them not citing anybody else, I would have River Craycraft, but I have an off the roster signing here.
Somebody specific?
No, not yet. I mean, okay. I got to see. I'll put it out there more on Twitter when I see the cut downs. But right now, Craycraft's more of a fair catch guy, and even there, he struggled some. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I just think with what they said, like he's a guy that's going to get some play, and he probably won't last long, if that makes sense. They might look elsewhere, but right now, that's who I got. So,
okay.
All right. Tight end now.
Okay, so I have Hireman, Fant, Fumagalli, and Charles Orson.
Okay, so you have Orson
Charles. Sorry.
Orson Charles.
Yeah, Orson Charles. Yeah, my bad.
Charles Olson, huh? That's a new one. Is he on Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Have you seen that show?
Charles. I have. Show. I love it. Love it.
Good show.
Yes, really Orson Charles. There we go. Right. I do not have Jake Butt.
Yeah.
I just, with what the coaches have been saying today, with him missing another 2 to 3 weeks, I just don't think he's worth that guy that you just hope he eventually gets healthy.
Yeah.
And so I'm IRing him, saying, come on, we'll give you another year, get healthy, see what you can do next year.
Yep, you're correct, man. It's sad, but what can you do, right? Like, gotta get healthy. Maybe we'll get him next year. Maybe they'll move on from him. It's possible. So, all right, tight end for me. I'm only carrying 3. Not great. Not what you want for a team with some injury questions there, but I just couldn't get the roster math to work out otherwise. So I have Noah Fant, Jeff Hireman, and Troy Fumagalli making it. I would love to bring Orson Charles back just for that flexibility there, but didn't see enough from him. And I don't know, maybe maybe he'll be a guy that they can bring back after a cutting just because they need to put somebody on IR designated to return. So we'll see. But now the offensive line. Carl, I'll just let you go run through it. Offensive line.
All right. So tackles are pretty obvious. Bulls, James, Wilkinson. I think those are pretty obvious choices. Guards, I have Leary, Reisner, and Sam Jones. And then center, McGovern and Austin Schlottman. And then because this is where I went back and forth. I had Jake Butt when I first did this before I heard that he's hurt again. So I took him off, and so I have a roster spot open. And this is where I think the Broncos, again, somebody off another roster, bring him in.
Yeah, I do not disagree with you there. I like this hypothetical player to be named. The potential is endless. But for me, I have Garrett Bowles, the starter, left tackle, left guard Dalton Reisner, center Connor McGovern, right guard Ronald Leary, and right tackle Juwan James. If they stay healthy, I think that can be a solid offensive line. Backups, I can keep in Elijah Wilkinson, Sam Jones, Austin Schlottman, and I kind of went back and forth with this last guy, but I went with the veteran Don Barclay. However, I don't love it there. Maybe even a guy like Jeff Leglue, who's shown well at guard and right tackle, might be a guy as well, though I think he's more of a guy who's probably heading to the practice squad. So those are my guys. And Carl, what are your final numbers there for your offensive players? Do you have that tallied up?
Yeah. So with the guys being signed off roster, I have 26.
Okay, so do I. I have 26, and I have 3 guys on offense who will not be ready to play week 1, which, the yikes. They really need to bring in like a 4-week, designated to return list or something, kind of like baseball for these guys, because it just really, these injuries are going to happen, and you want to protect the players, so getting that kind of assignment or a list where they can bring those guys back, maybe call up guys off the practice squad, I think that's a better way to go to protect the players and make the product of the field better. But Riddick, right, Locke, and Janovich are guys that I have making it that are not supposed to be ready week 1, so don't feel great about that, but again, what can you do? Alrighty, well, before we move on to the defense, we're going to have to take a quick break to give the platform to our sponsors. We will be right back. Do not go anywhere.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Alrighty, and we are back on Building the Broncos podcast. I am Nick Kendell along with Carl Dumler, and now it's time to talk some defense. I guess let's list your starting interior defensive line and their backups.
So, I mean, the obvious ones, Wolf, Harris, Gotsis.
Okay.
And then I have Walker, Purcell, and Draymond Jones.
Okay.
I really went back and forth on whether I should keep a 7th.
Yeah.
That was my hardest part there. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Deshaun Williams.
Yeah.
And I heard that they really like what he's doing on the field, and it seems like it's kind of coming down to him and Purcell. And I almost did. I mean, I'm not going to quite give this away. I almost went with just 4 cornerbacks because I don't know if anybody's really earned that 5th spot yet.
Well, I think I'm the same as you. Gotsis, Harris, Wolf are the starters. The backups being Jones, Purcell, and Walker. Out of those guys, all healthy right now, who's the one who is probably going to be a game day inactive, in your opinion?
Draymond Jones.
Yep, I agree. Just Walker and him have such a overlap skill set.
Right.
So,
and Walker's been a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, just more splash plays there, better in the run defense game. So I definitely agree with you there. Edge rushers. I have Chubb and Vaughn as the starters. That's the big shock of the podcast. Everyone's been waiting for that. With Justin Hollins and Malik Reed behind them. I'm sure that's just chalk. I'm sure you have the same.
Yes. I mean, that after the guys that they've released, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be those 4.
Yeah. And I originally, when I had this, I've just had like a Google Sheets document where I've had these guys listed on my thoughts and how it's gone and whatnot. And I had Justin Hollins listed at off-ball linebacker with Josh Watson making it. But now I have Hollins listed at edge, but he does have that versatility where he can be moved to that off-ball spot as well. So, you can only list him one spot on the depth chart there, but he's a guy worth noting that he's not only an edge rusher player, but he's depth for the off-ball linebacker position as well. So,
right.
It was really nice that's essentially sneaking on another player, right? Getting a guy who can fill those roles. So,
right.
Good to have that. All right, well, now moving on to the off-ball linebacker as we're talking. I have Josey Jewell and Todd Davis as a starter. I am going to put a plus mark next to Todd Davis right now because, hey, he's injured. And everyone was hoping week 1. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Yikes, raise the alarms. I mean, he's the best player they have at linebacker there, so probably will have my backup for Todd Davis here, Alexander Johnson, starting next to Josey Jewell. I also have Joseph Jones making this. Maybe I'm just hoping on the athletic upside, and it's kind of hard to have a linebacker like him with his injury. How long is he going to be? Maybe he'll be a guy that you can designate to return, but they really need special teams guy and athleticism at that second level. And Joseph Jones showed enough for me last year, even with his injury, again, the Hall of Fame game, that I'm keeping him here. And that says as much about how much I don't believe in the other linebackers as it does is my hope for Joseph Jones. And I also have undrafted free agent Josh Watson making it as well. Preferably, he's a guy that you end up on the practice squad, but with injury to Davis and Jones, who I'm keeping. Luckily, thank God for Hollins and his versatility, but I need that other linebacker there. So Josh Watson's done enough. And so I have him listed here as well.
So I have Todd Davis, Josey Jewell, like you, as the starters. Alexander Johnson, I think pretty obvious top 3 there. I do have Joe Jones making the team.
Your boy.
But he's one of my guys that I'm IRing to return.
Okay, so he has to be on there, and then you can bring in somebody else.
Right. And then that's, again, one of those possibly off the roster players. And if not him, then I do have Josh Watson as well.
Alrighty, moving on to the secondary here. Carl, I bit my tongue when you said it, but I actually do only have 4 cornerbacks as much as that.
Do you? Oh, man.
It scares me, but when you got a guy like Kareem Jackson who can come down and play cornerback as well, I'm going to try to finagle this roster as best I can. And I just really have not been impressed with the other cornerbacks. I did have Horace Richardson written down after the Hall of Fame game, and he's on IR now, so probably not happening.
Right. He was that one guy that you're kind of going, oh, he could have something.
Yeah, and I have heard some good things about Elijah Holder, but it seems like they're going to try to sneak him onto the practice squad.
Yeah.
So we'll see there. But yeah, I only have 4. And the reason I'll justify it is because Kareem Jackson, as well as DeMonte Thomas, who has shown some slot ability as well, who I do have making. I guess I might as well just keep going then. Kareem Jackson and Sua Craven's making it, as well as Justin Simmons, Will Parks, and DeMonte Thomas. Only 4 cornerbacks on the depth chart, but Kareem Jackson and DeMonte Thomas have shown the ability to do that, and Will Parks in the slot as well. So some versatility there. And, obviously I would have loved to kept a 5th cornerback, but I'm keeping that extra safety instead, especially because with Simmons and Parks set to hit free agency next year, I'm not willing to give up DeMonte Thomas. I think he's got a role on this team in the future as well, and that versatility of multiple of those safeties makes it so I feel like in my own head I can justify that.
Okay. Well, I have Chris Harris, Bryce Callahan, Isaac Yadam, Bosby, and then I have Lyndon Stevens.
Okay. Ugh.
And I went really back and forth on that because he has a couple plays that he makes, and then he's the guy that they keep targeting left and right. And so it's just kind of, like I said, I just keep going back and forth on how much I really didn't want to put him on the roster, just to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I have Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, Will Parks, Sua Cravens, and DeMonte Thomas.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, that's, I would rather have kept, I don't know, Lyndon Stevens hasn't done enough for me. Just being completely real there. So, I don't know. I do think, rumors are the Broncos are looking at quarterbacks, looking at offensive line, so is the entire league, and looking at linebackers. So we'll see. There might be some movement there, but not bad. So you have 24 on the defense as well?
Yep.
Alrighty, and then that would leave you with 3 special teamers, and I'm guessing it'll be chalk there. Brandon McManus, Colby Wadman, and Casey Kreider as well.
Yep.
So Casey Kreider, Iowa Hawkeye legend. But I do got to ask.
Pro Bowler.
Pro Bowler. Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have a banner up there. I pass Kinnick every day when the bus drops me off or picks me up. So see all those banners on the stadium. So they already have a Monty Hooker one up there who was just drafted last year. So time for a Casey Kreider. He's a Pro Bowler. God damn it. So kick returner and punt returner. I have Devontae Booker and for the kick returner and Burver Craycraft for the punt returner.
Well, I mean, I have Booker for the kick return, and then, like I said, I was going off ball wide receiver, or off the roster for wide receiver. That was supposed to be my punt returner. And
Okay.
if I was sticking with the roster, it's going to be Craycraft again, punt returner, just like you.
All right. That's your 53-man roster prediction on our end. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the game is Thursday, so you guys will have an idea after that. So we need to get this one so Chad puts it up before Saturday. Otherwise, it's not going to make much sense. And guys, I can't record on Saturday. I am going to be busy watching college football. So draft season is here, guys, already. I'm sorry, I can't help it.
I tried to get him to record on Saturday. He wouldn't do it.
Nope. Sorry, folks. I love you, but I love football on Saturdays and Sundays and Fridays and Thursdays and Mondays. So just inject it into my veins. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We will be right back to talk a little bit more Denver Broncos. This is Building the Broncos. Stay tuned.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Alrighty, and we are back on the Building the Broncos podcast. I am Nick along with Carl, and Carl, we just did our 53-man roster predictions. We're going to just generally, thoughts on this, how's this looking, feeling good, feeling bad, strengths and weaknesses. So I guess we'll start off with that. What are your top two strengths of this roster looking over your 53-man roster prediction?
Running back and pass rusher.
Okay.
I mean, you got two possibly starters at running back. You got a pretty good mix once Riddick gets healthy of guys you can stick on the field and do a lot of different things with. And then, of course, pass rusher. I mean, do I really have to explain why that's such a good position?
Are you including the interior guys?
No, I'm just talking about rush linebacker.
Edge. Okay.
And so, I mean, Miller, Chubb, Hollins, Reed, I really think that's a great mix of youth with star power. I mean, you might have two of the top 5 pass rushers in football on this team. That's unheard of in the NFL. And so, I mean, that's like the top strength, and it's like off the charts compared to the others. And then you're kind of fighting for that number 2 spot. So I guess for you, who would be that number 2 spot for you?
I'm going to kind of cheat, and it kind of goes over multiple spots, but obviously running back is up there. I would have running back as well, but just the secondary, I think it's going to be a strength of this team this year. And maybe I'm doing a little bit of projection, but I feel much better about the guys behind Chris Harris Jr. at cornerback than I did a month ago. You know, Bryce Callahan, his foot is scaring me, but Devontae Bosby and Isaac Yiadom, I thought, have looked pretty darn well. The versatility and the physicality you're getting from Cravens and Parks, DeMonte Thomas as well. And then we haven't even really seen Kareem Jackson yet, and Justin Simmons picking off passes like crazy. Not only the talent there, but the scheme as well. So I'm really excited about the tandem. I mean, they have the pass rush feeding into them, then they're feeding into the pass rush. So I think that's going to be a really fun dynamic. And my gosh, if the Broncos can just get a damn lead to start the game, things could be pretty darn fun this season. But it's going to come down to that offense more than not, unfortunately. But I mean, that's the game. But yeah, I think obviously the edge rushers, even with the rookies backing them up, I mean, Hollins and Reed have looked pretty darn good. And the secondary in general, I think, looks pretty good. So we'll see. But on offense, running backs, I mean, Riddick, Booker as your 3 and 4, pretty good players there as far as their fit goes. And then obviously Freeman and everybody's favorite, Phillip Lindsay. So yeah, I can't disagree there. So weaknesses, Carl. What are your 2 big weaknesses?
Well, I mean, I think, again, you got that one that's the red lights blinking at linebacker. Yeah. With Davis hurt. I mean, you're hoping it's only week 1, but it's hard to tell right now how long he's going to be out. Josie Jewell has struggled like crazy at times. I mean, the little that he's gotten to play. Alexander Johnson, just a guy. I mean, I think he's going to be good against the run, but he can be definitely exposed in the pass. Joe Jones hurt. Josh Watson. I mean, just the whole unit. It's pretty easy to see that that's a pretty big weakness on the team. And then I guess I'll focus in on just one position on the offensive line, but center.
Yeah.
I mean, Connor McGovern, we've been hearing about all the snap issues that he's had all offseason. In games so far, he's looked okay, but not great. He's gotten pushed back quite a bit. He does good when he's asked to do double teams, but if you ask him to be one-on-one, he's not winning that battle. And then his backup, Austin Schlottman has been okay, not great. So there's just no great promise at the position. I really wish they would have put Sam Jones at center.
Yeah.
And given him a chance to really compete at that spot. But they've really kept him only at guard this whole preseason so far, from what I've seen.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right in my eyes as well. And I will say that obviously the linebacker, we've harped on it a bit. Justin Hollins is the X factor there. So we'll see. I mean, I hate to put too much on a 5th round rookie this early, but as far as coverage goes and the being a nickel linebacker there, I mean, he might be the dude. So we'll see there. And then I guess for me after that, I've been harping on wanting a weapon, but it's more so than the pass game, wide receiver specifically, but it's more so in a post Emmanuel Sanders landscape, in the draft coming up. So I'm going to be, gosh, I don't want to be that guy, but I'd say a weakness is still quarterback until it's not. I mean, I think it's better than it has been in years, but from a league perspective, what kind of guy is Joe Flacco as far as a quarterback, right? Is he a cart, or is he the truck, or is he the wagon, so to speak, Is he the guy who's going to get pulled by how good the roster and the coaching staff is around him? Or is he the guy who's making everything tick? And you kind of need that guy and that franchise quarterback in today's league. I mean, it's imperative, and I think you can win with Flacco, but you need to be really good around him.
Right.
So,
well, and I think it's hard also, like you have this promise that he showed in 2014 in a very similar offense. And so I look at that when he had 27 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, almost 4,000 yards passing. And I sit there and say, okay, in this system, because he didn't have incredible talent around him that year. He had good talent. It wasn't great talent. He had a good offensive line. I'll give the Ravens that. But can he get somewhere close to that again? Or is he more like the very next year where he threw 14 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions? So, I mean, that's going to be the big variance that I just don't know. Yeah, we don't know exactly what Flacco's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he will be an upgrade. But again, he's one of those quarterbacks that, unless he shows drastically different this season, and maybe it's the system or better weapons around him or something like that, or just re-energized by a new opportunity, I just think that, if you have an average team around Flacco, where are you at? Like, what's your record, do you think?
7-9.
7-9, yep, probably 6-10 to 9-7, depending on your schedule and everything. So I think the Broncos, especially on defense, have better around him, and Broncos also have one of the best home field advantages in football. And I do think that they've surrounded with a good staff, so there's hope there, but it's still a weakness, right? So he'll have to prove us wrong, and then Drew Lock behind him, I think that obviously you have hope there in that regard. But again, a 2nd-round pick, it's not like you have Baker Mayfield sitting in the background there, or Patrick Mahomes and the flashes he had his rookie preseason. So we'll see, but that's just me being pretty nitpicky there. Obviously, left tackle is concerning given Garrett Bowles' struggle and Wilkinson's struggles as well. So we'll see. But I think looking at the roster, if there's any part that is really just like, woof, it's probably linebacker. But I mean, offense has been an issue for a long time, and quarterback, I mean, it's an issue until it's not, and that's the truth of it. I mean, you have to have an all-time unit to carry a guy like the corpse of Peyton Manning there at the end, Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, to a Super Bowl. So I don't know. It's possible. But, and I've been definitely as, I don't want to say high, but as assuring of Flacco as anybody that I can recall. But I mean, he's still just probably at best an average quarterback. So
Right.
that's a position that, especially in the AFC West as it's currently stacked, average is going to be hard to cut it as far as contending in the division.
Right.
Because that position is that important.
Right. And it really is. You're going to have a lot of the what if questions answered positively for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to have the team around him. Lindsey's got to replicate what he did.
Yep.
Hireman, Fant, Fumagalli, somebody's got to emerge at the tight end position.
Yep.
Bowles has to grow. Leary has to stay healthy. Reisner has to be beyond a rookie. James has to stay healthy. McGovern has to snap the ball at least decent. Sanders has to prove that he's back fully healthy. Sutton has to show that he can take that next step. Hamilton has to stay healthy. I mean, again, these are just going through the roster here. I mean, defensively, Wolf, can he stay healthy? Harris, can he emerge as that next big star for the Broncos on defense? Gotsis, can he stay consistent? Chubb, can he become a true star? Defensively, Davis, can he be at least a consistent starter for him? Jewell, same thing. Callahan, can he stay healthy? Simmons, can he become that next star as well? I mean, so again, there's just so many questions on this roster.
And you're not even talking about the health breaking the right way or all the coaches showing that they are indeed the right ones.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I like where the roster is going. I like where the coaching staff is going. I like a lot of things that the Broncos are doing. But in order for this season, 2019, to be successful, to truly be playoff contenders, maybe even Super Bowl contenders, like I said, I mean, just so many things have to break their way. They're in a tough division. I know the Chargers are dealing with some of their contract negotiations with like Gordon, and they've had already a couple injuries, but they're still a pretty loaded roster. Plus have that quarterback question already answered. And of course, Chiefs with Mahomes, and just, I mean, you got the MVP of the league at the most important position. That's a pretty good start right there. And weapons galore. Defensively, they've added a few pieces that look pretty nice. So, I mean, it is. It's a very, very tough road for the Broncos to find success. I'm not saying they can't have success. It's just a tougher road than, say, when Manning was in his prime and you're going, oh yeah, this team's at least 12-4, 13-3 kind of roster.
Yep. Nope. I agree with you there. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode of Building the Broncos podcast, brought to you by Overtime Media. You can find Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. And make sure you head on over to Mile High Huddle, an affiliate of the Maven Coalition and Sports Illustrated. Go on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment, as your support can help us continue to bring you our Denver Bronco deep dives. You can follow the Building the Broncos podcast and all our other great audio content by subscribing to the Huddle Up podcast wherever you listen to your shows. You can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. For Carl, I'm Nick, wrapping up another episode of the Building the Broncos podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you soon. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.